Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, we have very diligently and worked pretty hard to curate this panel together, and we are very privileged and excited to present you today this panel, because all of them are physically with us, which is a huge thing. And once I announce the names, you will understand that this is a panel of galacticos in the space that we are going to contemplate and deliberate on. So I announce the names. Professor Dr. Atthe Chaudhary remains in the dais. He will be moderating the session. He doesn't need any more introduction. That's why I'm just not doing it for the sake of it. We have with us Mr. Balaji Rajagopalan. He is the Chief Technology Officer of State Bank of India, flown all the way from Mumbai. Thank you, sir. If you could please come up on the dais. Next up, we have Mr. Ratan Kumar Kesh as Interim Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Bandhan Bank Limited. We have Dr. Raj Rajesh, Director, Department of Economic Policy and Research of Reserve Bank of India. Good morning, sir. We have Mr. Siddharth Prashar. He's the DGM of GVLA Business, Large Account Business Group, Tally Solutions Private Limited, the largest fintech accounting company that India has. Next up, we have two more interesting panelists. Introducing them, I would need a few seconds. We have with us Mr. Raj Jain. Mr. Raj Jain is the Managing Director and CEO of RS Software. RS Software, as you are aware, that it's a Kolkata-based technology company, but a global leader in providing payment technology solutions. In fact, RS Software specializes in delivering innovative digital payment platform and services to financial institutions worldwide. And they were the pioneers in developing the UPI framework for NPCI, which has transformed the digital payments in India. So all the Google Pay and the Phone Pay that we do seamlessly these days, they are behind it. And I also have the final panelist. Allow me to introduce him, Mr. Karthik Srinivasan. He is the founder and CTIO of Zixu. Zixu is driving innovation in digital payment solutions. Zixu is an Australian company specializing in seamless real-time financial services and payment platforms. Mr. Srinivasan has flown all the way from Perth, Australia, making it truly an Indo-Pacific economic conclave of an international standard. So without further ado, I would request Atthe Chaudhary sir to take the session proceedings forward. We have an hour, sir, kept for this panel. Kindly accommodate within that. Thank you.
Well, we are running short of time, but I don't want to deprive any of you. The point is, given the short time, we will devote about, say, 5 to 6 minutes for your bullet points, and then we'll open it to the floor, and you can have questions. I mean, this open floor really gives a lot of, good questions from them. This session is on fintech innovation and standardization for seamless trade and payments. And we will talk on leveraging tech and infrastructures, standardization process, what are the fintech innovations, and then how the global digital payment system can be integrated. Now, very quickly, problems which will be touched upon, I guess. There is this question of data protection and security. Whenever you go globally, that's a big thing. Interoperability. Whenever you go Indo-Pacific, not India, there are problems of standards, so interoperability will be a big issue. There will be a question of inclusion. We want to include in this digital age, common citizen, gender, agriculture, MSME, all these are important. We need transparency. More transparency is the demand of the day for collaboration and trust. Then we must have a remediation process, so that if we have some kind of a dissatisfaction, there should be process of remediation. And then the question of governance. It's not a governance of one country that will matter. It will be a governance which needs some kind of a coordination among different uh, governments of different countries. So that's a challenge itself. So given that, I will now request Mr. Balaji Rajagopalan, who I think will speak something on fintech and digital payment, something overlap between the two. Okay, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Uh, Somebody was talking about equality and all. So technology has been the forefront to get identity for every individual, every citizen. Getting an identity for every citizen makes every citizen can contribute for the nation as such. So starting from identity, irrespective of whatever language, whatever background you come from, it gets an opportunity for you to get a SIM card. Without a SIM card, you can't open a bank account. Without a bank account, you don't have the empowerment and dignity to get the income. A salary account person will be able to get a loan. A farmer, an individual who doesn't have any background about getting into the corporates, the identity helps the individual to get the credits. The credits happening in the system helps you get the credit. So look at the contribution of technology. The digital platform infrastructure with the country has played a significant role in terms of the identity layer, starting from every individual, whether it's a retail customer or a corporate customer, a clear payment layer, which talks about empowering every individual to get banking low-cost operations, a data layer which is secured, which also means that based on the consensus, data can be shared. So the India DPI is one of the major catalysts to achieve the innovation and the growth for the future of the country. India being one of the fastest economy in the world, it's extremely important that every nation, every individual is being contributing for this factor. So starting from onboarding to various products and services, you consider any industry, technology plays a crucial role for quick onboarding, instant customer creation, instant account creation or product creation. Imagine if you want waiting for a SIM card. Will you want to get it in 5 minutes, 2 minutes, or will you want to wait for 2 hours in a paper-based journey? The kind of digital transformation that's happening in the country has seen a huge, for example, retail transactions. 70% of transactions in the country are through digital payments. Of course, in terms of identity, 97, 98% of the country people have their identity in terms of Aadhaar. So this plays a significant catalyst for future growth. When it comes to, again, in terms of technology, again, since the topic is more about on seamless integration and for the Indo-Pacific, you have huge opportunities for improving the overall efficiency, improving the customer experience. Starting from onboarding, if you talk about trade finance, if you talk about trade in various transactions, there's a lot of disjointed systems. Importers, exporters, banks, insurance companies, the various parties, shipping agencies, insurance, getting the end-to-end visibility becomes a challenge. When it comes to export, customers are expected to submit the documents within 21 days. Every document of trade finance is a multi-page document. And banks have huge opportunities challenges in terms of doing this, getting the right documents. So when a customer places documents, submits the documents, are we ensuring that they're all upfront validations, or is it post-factor? So going back and forth doesn't help. So you can correlate to any industry, whether it is trade, you talk about any industry, supply chain finance, you talk about automobile industry, healthcare industry, in all these areas, there's a huge opportunity to make it instant customer service. And when it comes to seamless, it also means that your system should be having integratable, interoperable, which are surround systems. Like when you talk about cross-border fund transfer, it's extremely important that you have well connected. Many cases, there is a lot of waiting period for documents to be submitted. The supply chain finance management is there. They're not integrated to the ERPs. For example, there's a due date, and the extension has not happened. So there's a follow-up required. When there are supposed to be extensions, we need a follow-up. So imagine the ERP systems are integrated to the subsystems. Then there's an auto alert, there's auto escalation, there's an auto information which is being passing through and seamlessly as such. Touching upon the AI part, a lot of people are talking about AI, I just want to share. There's an initiative called Bashini, which is there in terms of education for everybody. The challenge of barriers of language is eliminated by Bashini kind of rule, where every government digital services, you have a text speech, where the language translation is extremely important, irrespective of whatever background you come from. It helps you to perform any digital government services. We have a lot of learning documents for the nation's welfare in terms of education as such. Right from onboarding to various customer services, if there's a language translation, for example, if you have account opening form, if you have in your local form, the customer will be able to get the account. So language is extremely important. Similarly, when you submit a document, you go to a bank, you go to any organization, you get an identity document. Imagine there's a DigiYatra in the airport. Same thing is happening for everywhere. How will I get a quick process part of it? So documents being submitted, when a customer submits the documents, can I realize the document classification, which document it is? What is the information? Can I annotate the fields? When it comes to trade finance, 100 pages documents. You talk about import, export, LC, bank guarantee, every type of document has different types of documents. There is no standard format. Yeah, thank you. So when it comes to cognitive capabilities, again, translation, email classification, facial recognition, in terms of co-browsing, so a large amount of opportunities. So when it comes to Vikshit Bharat, again, technology plays a crucial role in terms of the improvement of the nation, in terms of the overall sustainability part. Cyber security is extremely important. Data privacy, data security is nothing, extremely important. We have made the public road of the Amazon, Google coming into the country's region. We don't want data to cross across the layers. So get into in that, the ecosystem, the technology, right way of doing it, seamless process automation, regional collaboration. That's why we are talking about how do we get an alternate of SWIFT with the low-cost payment systems, and with the integration, collaboration of the regional collaboration. I'm sure we'll reach the Vikshit Bharat, maybe, why not 2047, we can even reach even earlier. So thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Rajagopalan. It gives a very succinct view about what fintech innovations can really do to the common person. Well, let me go to the next speaker, Mr. Ratan Kumar Kesh, Managing Director and CEO of Bandhan Bank. I guess you will speak on, again, fintech and maybe standardization, something you can talk about. Okay. 5 minutes
Very
to
good
begin.
afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having us here. So quickly, I think Balaji spoke about equality, and he also spoke about a little bit about empowerment, and I will just touch upon these two and then move on to as to what we do and how trade can be relevant, and then talk a little bit about fintech, and then fintech in trade as a specific sort of topic. So, equality is, it probably does not necessarily stop at inclusion. I think equality demands empowerment. And in the finance domain, I think I just saw a glimpse of Mr. Ghosh. He was here. He's our founder and ex-MD and CEO, and he's a past president of BCCI as well. So what Bandhan Bank has demonstrated is that by giving that small financial empowerment to a women in the society at the bottom of the pyramid, you can do a transformation in that family and create a more cascading impact in the larger society. I think that, to me, is one of the classic examples of what empowerment can do, and therefore remove inequality from the society. And I'll give a simple example. We actually had on a foundation day on 23rd of August. We created what we call it as an impact pavilion. We invited 9 of our customers to come and present their products. And all of our customers, almost 1.3 crore, are actually women. They're at the bottom of the pyramid. They would have started off with 8,000 to 10,000 rupees of loans. And this lady, Mrs. Maiti from Nodia district, she started off with some 15,000 rupee loan 10, 12 years back. And she had displayed proudly in that impact pavilion that she's got a contract of 28 crores for her product from a Singapore government. Now that is the power of creating that little financial empowerment few years back, which resulted into her creating her capabilities to create a product which is now a world-class product. Therefore, to me, this whole financial inclusion, which used to talk about opening a savings account and really taking the money from below the bed to bringing it sort of the banking account is just about a basic step. With the mobile phone, the Jan Dhan account, which has got significantly large number of people got covered, and the mobile revolution, with this jam trinity, we have solved this inclusion problem. But the problem of empowerment still remains in various parts of the society. So how do you create empowerment or financial empowerment? Because if you go by the traditional route of doing credit underwriting by looking at balance sheet and all of those standard routes and bureau records, it becomes very complex for those sections of society who may not necessarily have all the data. But with the revolution of mobile and the QR code based payments and that all that payment system that is transformed, and I'm sure Mr. Jain will speak more about it, you now have alternate data which gives you tremendous ability to do lot more enriched underwriting to understand the capability and credit worthiness at the bottom of the pyramid, and therefore extend that little financial empowerment, which can then cascade into much more outcome. And just Mrs. Maiti is one example. We have got 1 crore and more examples who have transformed society and creating impact in the society. So that's one, I would say, very strong element of it. And in that domain, if you could do it very, very manually, you couldn't do it. With the technological revolution and the power of data, the fintech companies are really helping us to get that much smarter, more efficient, and in a much more simplified manner. No, that's one element of it. Now, talking about the related domain of trade. Now, each of these small entrepreneurs in their own micro entrepreneurs in their own right could possibly have a product which they don't have the market. That market is limited to near their household area. But the product could be really exciting product. And can technology, including, let's say, augmented reality, help us create a capability for us to showcase the product to the rest of the country and probably to the rest of the globe? And therefore, the whole country, the globe, can become a market. And that's when I would say the fintech companies can come and partner with banks and the government entities to really create more sustainable sort of ecosystem for them. So that's the second element of it. Specific to trade, I think we all need trade, whether it is domestic or cross-border. But trade is a complex subject, not just because of the trust element that is very, very important in this domain, but the kind of documentation that are needed to execute a trade, the paper-based transaction. So the trust paper brings inefficiency, trust deficit creates problems and results into delay. And the third element is the compliance and other norms. I think a lot has happened. More can be done using blockchain as a technology, which essentially focuses on standardizing the documents, then tokenizing it. And once you have done standardization and tokenization, how do you really create the authorization in the system, which can be seen by everyone, resulting into a smart contract, and that then becomes a cascading impact, which is auditable, transparent for everyone. So blockchain is really transforming trade as a whole subject, and I think probably we can talk more about it. And the Indo-Pacific region is actually taking a leap in this particular area, and we are really well advanced compared to the rest of the globe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kesh. You touched upon the very basics of the inclusion empowerment through credit and other means, which the bank is doing, and then obviously what can be done by introducing fintech innovations like blockchain. Well, I move over to Mr. Raj Jain, Managing Director and CEO, RS Software, who are having platform on many different dimensions, I guess, to promote the digital platform. So you can touch upon a little bit on the standardization problem as well as fintech, if you can.
Yes. So, Professor, with your permission, I'm going to raise the issue to a more macro level, which is what I hope is helpful in these conferences. Good afternoon, my fellow panelists. Good afternoon, everybody. Ms. Tanka, you gave a wonderful talk this morning, and you talk about the strategic importance of digital transformation across the Pacific region, across the globe. And Honorable Prime Minister Modi, he made this a major part of his policies over the past 10 years. No wonder we see what India is transforming to. But as we all know, nothing comes free in the world. We do have to pay for almost everything in our everyday life. And this is where the fintechs and the digital payments come together. Many of you here may be surprised to know that the digital payment infrastructure of India, which is now today a global brand, every part of the world is being talked about, it's been built, led by UPI, exclusively in Calcutta. UPI, the Bharat Bill Payment Network, and the Fraud and Risk Payment Platform being operated all by the Fintech RS Software here in Calcutta. And this, I believe, is a matter of great pride for the region. And it's a gateway to a lot of collaboration that can happen globally, as you will see some of the points that I'm going to bring across. So RS Software delivered UPI to India on April 11, 2016. I can tell you that this is probably one of the greatest testimonies, Professor, to a collaboration between a fintech regulator, RBI, and NPCI, which is owned by the leading banks of the country. And that's been a project of great satisfaction. I have lived more in California in my life than anywhere else. So this transformation of the country happening through digital payments is a personal satisfaction for me. But I can tell you that fintechs have been collaborating globally, and as you very well mentioned, that you look forward as a bank CEO to collaborate with the fintechs, and so did you, Mr. Balaji. I feel that when you start going back almost about 10 years, say about 2015 to now about 2024, the first 6 years, 2015 to 2021, the venture capital funding for the fintechs globally increased from about $19 billion to $92 billion in just a matter of 6 months, 6 years. And that is a tremendous success. But what it also did is, it brought a lot of high expectation what the fintechs can deliver, which is great. You raise the bar. And the fintechs, their biggest challenge always is how to get scale. And they struggle on that as startups. But I can tell you some of the global fintechs that have been very successful. You may have heard some of these names. There's a company called Plaid in the US. And then there's a company called Monzo, which is a neobank, digital bank in the United Kingdom. You were talking about blockchain a little while ago. Santander Bank in Spain collaborated with Revolut for the blockchain and putting forward B2B applications there. So there are n number of examples across the globe in every part of the world how fintechs, banks can collaborate. But even today, after about 10 years of a lot of funding going into fintech, when you think about the data points like the banks globally have a revenue approximately in the region of about $7 trillion. Fintechs are only about 5% of that, right? Very small portion. And therefore, we believe that there is a huge, huge potential for this collaboration to work itself, and I'm focused primarily in the financial services space, particularly in the payments area, which is where I see a lot of the opportunity. In fact, talking about the importance of what fintechs can do, the regulators are getting very conscious of it. So Visa, which is the #1 payment network in the world, they wanted to acquire Plaid about 3 years ago, and the regulator stepped in and refused the transaction, lest Visa becomes way too powerful, and therefore they've got to manage that control. I believe that the challenge which lies ahead in the collaboration area is the clarity of goals that the banks and fintechs must be very focused on right from day one. I can assure you, when you look at very many success studies, where successes happen, where there's a clarity between what a bank will do and what a fintech will do. How do they complement each other? And that's really where I believe the investors are now focused on. When they talk to the fintechs, they are telling them, please do not focus just on the growth. Focus on a business model, focus on profitability, focus on a strategy, and focus what you can really create with the banks as something which is for the businesses and something which is for the B2C. In fact, in the B2B space is really where there's the largest focus and a lot of success is being seen. So in my view, I think when we look at this region of Calcutta, of West Bengal, it's got a history of doing major events which have led to a lot of success for the country, for the global market. Like I mentioned to you about the Fintech Atthe software, the kind of work that's doing right from here in Calcutta, less than 10 kilometers away from here. So with that, I have a lot of hope that the Bengal Chamber of Commerce will continue to focus on promoting digital connectivity, innovation in the region, and help the policies to be drawn in a way where a lot more fintechs can be encouraged in this region, and we have great talent here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Juin. In fact, you are well within your time allotted. And yes, I mean, the collaboration between fintech and the banking sector is very important, especially for this part of the world and to the Indo-Pacific as well. So we hope that that will emerge very successfully in the years to come. Let's go to Mr. Siddharth Prashad, and he's from Tally Solutions. As we know, Tally is so important for accounting all over the world now. And if you can tell us about something about what innovations you can look forward to in this field, and maybe in what way the Indo-Pacific may benefit from what you are doing.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot for inviting us in this panel. I'll start off with one important thing, which before this session, Chief Economic Advisor was saying that to enable India for 60 or 80 million jobs, it's not the big players who can do this, rather than SME segment has to be more powerful than, and which is where Tally comes in as one of the most important organization for SME in maintaining their financial accounts. We are enabling the big chunk of this SMEs towards the standardization of accounting. After Government of India launching GST, there are a lot of things have already gone into standardization of compliance part, and Tally is one of the leading thing that is helping all these SMEs to get understand this taxation part, which will enable them to maintain their records and can help them to grow at a faster rate. And once they will grow, the economy will travel to next thing. The other part that we as an organization always focus on is the integration part. Being a software company, integration plays a very, very critical part. We get integrated with lots of banks for the seamless integration of cash flows. We get integrated with a lot of fintechs so that it become easy for an SME or SMB for managing their businesses financially as well as operating their businesses through various challenges that they face. Third part that I want to tell you, Tally recently gets into the part of loan management, which is through a company called Tally Capital. We recently, last year, launched this organization, and on one important parameter, as Mr. Balaji already said this, the documentation is one of the most difficult tasks right now if you apply for any loans. So there are large number of banks which has different type of documentation. Then there is some credit rating companies which give you credit rates and which tell that whether you are applicable for these types of loans or not. So there are a lot of documentation which we want to solve, that consumers should not feel that there are various things that can go inside. So Tally launched its own platform called Tally Capital, and being into with more than 30 lakh businesses operating on Tally, it becomes easier for a bank to understand, seeing the balance sheet and the books using Tally, and come out with some rating stating that these become easier for banks and fintech to offer loans to the organization. So overall, towards the standardization, I'll say our major focus is towards making people enabled towards using softwares and basically SMEs so that they can regulate, and secondly towards making use of various documents, various reports which can help the organizations and other players to standardize the things. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prashar. In fact, what you said is so important for any startup as well as the SMEs, and hopefully that will really help the SME sector to compete more in this very competitive world. Let's move to Dr. Raj Rajesh, the Director, Department of Economic and Policy Research, Reserve Bank of India. And I think again, fintech innovations and the payment system is something which you will touch upon. And if you can a little bit talk about what can be done to standardize the procedure so that it can be used by different types of systems which are there. If you can, I mean, it's yours.
Mostly focus on the like challenges that we face. Like
Okay, sure.
A very good afternoon, and thank you for this opportunity and inviting me for this in this August session. So, as you are all aware that India is at the front. India is at the forefront of digital revolution, and there has been a significant growth of the digital economy in India. And India is one of the pioneers in the globe in a lot of digital technologies that the world is aspiring to adopt. So, to gauge as the extent of India's digitization, so I will present before you two indicators. First is that the size of digital economy in India is expected to increase from 10% of GDP to 20% of GDP by 2026. And the second being that our digital payment index has risen to 445.5 in a matter of just 4 to 5 years actually. And in this digitization thing, I'm going to highlight two recent policies. While RBI and other government bodies, they have taken significant steps in promoting digital financial inclusion and in infusing a lot of technologies. So I'm just going to talk about two recent policy initiatives that RBI has taken, which is going to provide a significant boost to digitalization in the economy actually. One on the UPI front, which has revolutionized UPI payments, and another on the credit side actually. So coming to the UPI, which is already the kind of leader in the global payments, retail payment system. So in India, it accounts for about 80% of the volumes of total payments in the country. Now we have started in our August 2024 policy, the governor announced a new feature in UPI, which is the delegated payment. So the UPI would now reach to people who do not have a bank account. So say a primary account holder can delegate the payment, delegate the UPI to some other secondary user. Maybe it could be a senior citizen, maybe a child or dependent actually, family members. The second relates to the credit. as you are aware, in 2023, Reserve Bank launched a pilot scheme which is called as the PTPFC, Public Tech Platform for Frictionless Credit, actually. So the intent for this was to digitize and lower the turnaround time for loans in respect of MSMEs, KYC loans, personal loans, vehicle loans, etc. So based on the pilot experience that we have gained over the last 1 year or so, which has demonstrated significant reduction in turnaround time in respect of KCC loans, which have declined from few weeks to less than an hour. So recently in August 2024, Governor announced that there will be a nationwide launch of ULI, which is the Unified Lending Interface. So in the words of Governor, just like UPI transformed the payment system, we expect that the ULI will play a similar role in transforming the lending space in India. And the new trinity of JAM, UPI, and ULI will be a revolutionary step in revolutionary step forward in India's digital infrastructure journey. So having laid out these two significant developments that have taken place very recently, I will now talk of the challenges that we are faced with in furthering the digitalization journey in the context of Indian economy. While we have done enough to make available the payment infrastructure, digital payment availability, but there remains significant scope in the improvement of usage. So what are the challenges that we face in this regard? So for the meaningful usage, we are faced with first challenge relates to the financial literacy. So as per the National Center for Financial Education, NCFE 2019, they conducted a survey, countrywide survey, and they found that of the respondents that they covered, actually, they found that only 27% of the respondents had met the minimum criteria of the financial literacy. So just imagine the scale of the problem of expanding the financial literacy, which is a prerequisite for promoting digital financial inclusion, actually. In this regard, we have made certain endeavors. We have been making efforts in the past to, we conduct financial literacy camps, we conduct financial literacy weeks, we have agencies, we work with CFLs and FLCs to promote financial literacy. The second challenge that that confront us is the digital divide. So if you look at in India's internet penetration vis-a-vis the rest of the world, so India lags behind significantly. As against the global average of internet penetration of 67.1%, in India the internet penetration is just 55.3%. And that too, there also remains significant regional and geographical divide in internet subscriptions. So those need to be plugged. And more so, there is also a divide between rural and urban areas. Internet penetration in rural areas stands at just 44.2 per 100 persons, while in the urban areas it is about 111.8. Now, the third challenge that confronts us is the trade-off between the customer convenience that the payment system gives and customer protection. And we are very conscious about the customer protection. And with increased adoption of digitalization technologies in the country, at the same time, there have been significant increase in the number of complaints that are received by our banking ombudsman. So of the total complaints that we receive, about 47% in 22-23 comprised about relating to internet banking, the credit card, debit cards, ATMs, etc. So those are huge challenges, and we are working hard to address those things. So for improving the customer protection, we have initiated a lot of initiatives. We do conduct digital awareness campaigns, and we also have a scheme. We have a flagship program called RBI Atthe. You must be seeing it in your television and hearing on your radios. Further, as the regulator, actually, so we are faced with the regulatory challenge of staying ahead of the financial innovation curve, which is constantly evolving with new technology. So yeah, so there is a need to balance the complex trade-off relating to financial stability, competition, and consumer protection. So our regulation in this regard, we conducted a study relating to P2P lending, and we found that our regulations had a salutary impact on building trust and improve customer experience. Finally, to conclude, as you are aware that we are celebrating our 90th anniversary actually, and we have series of events actually like lined up. You can check on our website actually. So like having reached several milestones in this journey, as our governor puts it, we look forward in this journey towards RBI at the rate 100 with considerable optimism. We are constantly working on devising policies, approaches, systems, and platforms that will make our financial system stronger, nimble, and customer-centric. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Thank you, Mr. Dr. Rajesh. In fact, I have just one apprehension. Fintech innovation and regulation which RBI is doing has to compete with the fraudster. They are innovating things very, very fast. So who is going faster? So that's something which the common man really looks forward to, and I hope you will win. I have all the best wish that the right type of regulations will finally prevail. Well, let's go over to Mr. Karthik Srinivasan, founder and CTO Zixu. And he will talk about obviously payments and in fintech, but I hope you will have some idea about how to bring the Indo-Pacific region in some kind of a standardized framework. Over to you.
Thank you, Jadava. Thank you to the Bengal Chamber of Commerce for extending the invitation. Hopefully my sort of experience, what we mean between Australia and India, would add some 2 cents on the perspectives, particularly between the bridge, as I call it. Before I start, I want to just give a quick background of what Zixu is. So Zixu is an Australian fintech. So we were the first ones to introduce QR code based payments in Australia. We are connected to the NPPA, which is very similar to the UPI, NPCI systems here in India. And we had quite a few first mover advantage and a few innovation. So as a fintech, I mean, our synonym is always innovation, right? If you're a fintech, we use technology as an enabler without challenging the principles of banking. And therefore, we churn out products. So that led us to be invited and represent Australia. So Zixu and I represented Australia as part of G20 last year. And one of the key working themes for us was around interoperable QR codes and cross-border payments, and how we could sort of look at a standardized framework where all the G20 countries should collaborate and build a single sort of platform. So that led Zixu to come to India and launch in partnership with an Indian fintech, particularly looking at building a bridge. So my views are pretty macro, because that is what I've been at for the last couple of years. We had a formal launch last month. Whenever we are building a bridge, whether it's financial or non-financial, or could be embedded finance as I call it, there are something called as 4 Ps and 5 stakeholders. So the top 4 Ps for me, the pillars are, one is obviously regulation. Whenever a bridge is spoken about, just as many components go into building a bridge, very similar, it goes between any country that's trying to build a bridge. And in this case, where I sit, it's between India and Australia. One of the key things is regulation. So the regulators play a significant role in defining what the bridge looks like. Second comes is the cost factor. Obviously, whenever we're building something, it has to ensure that it's cost effective. Number 3 comes the security. Anything that we talk about cross-border, specifically looking from an anti-money laundering or a counter-terrorism framework, security plays a big role in this. And the 4th pillar, obviously, is standardization. We do have multiple channels on how money goes across, money moves. But what's very important whenever you are talking about a standardized bridge, it is a 2-way street between 2 countries, and it has to be standardized. So there are technology, to me, comes later. I think these are the 4 grounding sort of pillars. One of the key things in terms of stakeholders that I've seen in the last couple of years dealing between India and Australia is obviously once the government approves this, both sides of the government, then comes the regulators, then comes the central bank and the banks, which are the backbone of any country. Then comes the fintechs like us. And finally, there are the infrastructure builders, so which is like the NPCIs and the NPPA that we have in Australia. This is like a palm to me, fingers in a palm. I mean, all of this have to come together to build a bridge. So one of the main things that Zixu now is focusing on is we've launched in India and looking at building a bridge, as we had committed to the government of Australia that we would work very closely with India and Indian technology and the players across. And on both sides of the fence, fintechs can't operate alone. We have to work with banks. We do have partnerships in Australia that we do. The Indian partner that we've got also works with an Indian listed bank here. What we bring to the table is obviously innovation and technology. So what Zixu and the Indian company is doing is pretty much a small step in a small little way in building that bridge between India and Australia. And that is for a demographics that we've started off, which is the international students. And what we're now looking at is what payments and embedded finance can bring to an international student who is going from India to Australia to study. Because obviously with these sorts of a complex sort of scenarios when it comes to cross-border and other technology, there's a lot in play. So we're just starting out. As in country, between India and Australia, I could say that both the countries are now heavily in discussions on how the bridge should be. At the end of the day, fintechs have a multiple level roles to play. There is security, there's payments, there's reg tech, as I call it, which is the regulation, the regulatory tech. Then there is something called as SecTech Ops, so Security Technology Ops, that fintechs like us can play. So my sort of key last 2 points to sort of leave with all of you is there are significant sort of challenges right ahead. It has to be between the two countries or across the nations. So when you talk about Indo-Pacific, it has to start with India and any other country that is participating as part of the bridge. And we get one country right, replication and duplication with other countries becomes a lot easier. And that's exactly what Zixu is now attempting to do in India through its partnership. So that's my sort of 2 cents on the Indo-Pacific sort of relationship that we're trying to build.
Thank you very much, Mr. Srinivasan. And what you are doing, hopefully, we can send more students to Australia. We are already sending a lot, but then it will be made easier because you are a multi-dimensional thing which you are trying to do. Well, now we can open it to the floor, and maybe we can spend something like 7 minutes to wrap it up.
I have a comment to make regarding standardization. Would you like me to make the comment?
Do you take questions and then have the comments, or it's
Your question.
Oh, okay. Yes.
So, just Professor, on the data front, you may be familiar with ISO 20022. And that's, of course, got multiple versions as well, but at least it's a standard to work with. When we look at digital payments, real-time payments across the globe, India has taken a lead with G20 particularly, and also India has signed agreements with several countries to integrate UPI with the real-time payment system of that country. So that's a great integration initiative that's taking place. In the area of open banking, particularly the EU regulator is taking a bold step towards a lot of standardization there, which is why companies like Plaid, etc., are succeeding. So I believe that while standardization continues to remain as a challenge, there is a lot of initiative that's happening and a lot of success that is happening, and the foundation for success of fintech collaboration is based on some of these standardizations. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. Jain, for your hopeful comments. The standardization will proceed. Its natural acceleration will come. Questions,
sir,
please.
Yes, sir. Sir, I have a question to Mr. Rajesh. So I've heard that blockchain is not legal in Indian economic system. The substitute of cryptocurrency is central bank digital currency. So my question is, when blockchain will be legalized in Indian economic banking system, and also when we can dealing with cryptocurrency and other other just like Ethereum or other cryptocurrency. So can you elaborate some kind of point on blockchain legality in Indian banking system?
So blockchain is applied across all these systems basically, and I would not offer my comments on the CBDC basically. You know the origins of CBDC.
Actually, it's a substitute of the other cryptocurrency, central bank digital currency. I've heard that.
Well, let him give the answer.
Cryptocurrency is not currency.
It's a digital currency.
It's
Please,
not currency.
let him give the answer.
So I will just
Cryptocurrency-
add, Mr. Please finish up.
So let me add, like as our top management has already been echoing, cryptocurrency is not currency. So like the term is a misnomer. So the money which is issued by the central bank is the money, okay? And CBDC, which is envisaged to be kind of a future money, like which is still at pilot stage. Like just look at various other countries, like India was at research stage, and now we have moved to fast to pilot stage. A lot of advanced countries are still in research stage. They have not introduced it actually. There are various technicalities involved there, but we have made certain advancements. As you can look at our documents, we have we have tested the CBDC at pilot stage. We have like a lot of users, like now about 55 lakh users, 4.2 lakh merchants have been integrated. That trial is going on. We are trying to fine tune it, made it adapt with Indian conditions where internet is not available. So offline functionality has been added to that. And programmability that it could be used only for certain purposes. Like if I give to you, like if you give to your progeny or your son or something, you can like just program in such a way that it can be used only for specific purpose, not for just for payment of school fees or something, not for buying chocolates and all. So those kind of advancements are happening. So please do not mix crypto with this thing, because that's totally different. Crypto is a financial asset. It's
I mean, it's quite clear. Do you have anything to add?
No, so I just wanted to add that blockchain is not banned in India. Blockchain is the technology which applies using lots of records, moves in blocks. Blocks are connected using cryptography. That technology is not banned. Banks in India, the TRI, lots of others are using blockchain as a technology. I wouldn't make a comment on crypto.
Okay. What? Yes, please.
So I have a question from a customer point of view. So I'm not an IT expert, but I use a lot of technology. Now, every Tom, Dick and Harry today is empowered to bring out an app. So I use apps from banks, from insurance companies. Now, as a customer, I do not have the assurance that that particular app which I'm using has gone through the anti-fraud checks and so on and so forth. So would it make sense, just like for financial accounting you have audit, for drugs you have FDA, so we have some kind of an agency which is empowered by the government, packed with experts, to certify that a particular app or whatever is being created for use by consumers or customers, that has passed muster in terms of fraud checks, so that I can be assured when I'm using the app that this has gone through those checks and I'm safe.
Who will answer? You will answer?
Yeah, more from the protection of the banking app, I agree. I mean, there are enough of apps which are there in the country, and then what is genuine? Especially for the banking apps, there are a lot of validations which are there. For example, one of the fraud which has happened in one of the bank, where through one of the app, there was a remote sharing, and you were able to perform a transaction, beneficiary was changed, transaction was done. So there are a lot of validation were done. It is a continuously, with adoption of digital, the cybersecurity landscape has definitely changed. At least banks are mandated, where regulators, banks are closely working on how do we make it safer, like 2FA has been done. But you are talking about generally every app, which is something, yeah.
See, just one comment, you should have a maker-checker system. You see, whoever is creating the app should not be the one to certify that app. That I understand you are taking a lot of care, but there has to be an independent agency which should certify that app, and that is where the sense of assurance will come to the customer.
At least for the banking app, there's a huge cyber security focus which is happening. For example, vulnerability app, 2FA, SIM binding, GPay. For a simple example, GPay, all of you will say it is very ideal for performing in a very faster thing. Please remember, GPay validations are negligible compared to the banking apps. SIM binding, two-factor authentication, the kind of vulnerability checks, screen sharing, lot of continuous development is happening. Last 4 or 5 months, especially, there's a huge focus on cybersecurity in the nation, and every critical thing, like Independence Day, every critical thing, I can tell you, cybersecurity is a topmost thing. In one of the forum, I went for one of the forum in Delhi. One of the partner was saying, the revenue of global fraudster is equal to the third in the economy. That's the kind of global issue which is there, but there is a continuous focus. There is nothing like simple one maker checker, right? From development till cybersecurity, the DevSecOps, which one of the person has also mentioned, is embedded part of this. And for example, we keep training awareness. For example, even the passbook, we say, don't share your passwords, OTP. These are certain things which is individual persons. For example, if you install a vulnerable app, we are even working on how banking apps can be negated and how do we make sure that is not being tapped. Phishing exercise, awareness to cyber fraud, links come in SMS, you click it. Continuously, in fact, government, regulators, banks are continuing it, but since I've been in the technology, it is not just one maker checker, there are multiple layers. But I take it your point, at general apps other than non-banking, I think it's something which country has.
So I'll just offer a quick comment. So the point that you made, sir, is quite profound. I mean, as citizens, we use lots of apps. What is the authenticity of those apps is a point. Oftentimes, the app is created for a noble purpose. For example, I want to create an app to say that I want to support my mother far away, and I say that she is asking for some help, saying that how do I order medicine? So I said, okay, click this, and I take control of that app, and I help her order it, and that she gets the medicine. Now, the same app can be utilized to do a perpetrated fraud. Now, unfortunately, if you want to get it validated by somebody, will say the purpose is this, then you use it for some other purpose. But Balaji is right. The banking apps actually go through a tremendous amount of scrutiny before it really comes.
Just want to add one thing.
The point is not the banking apps. Finally, you see any app, the money transactions is related to your bank account somewhere other. The money goes from your account. So you can be sure about your banking safety. But how can a non-banking app, which finally is related to my account where the money flows, can we have something where there is automatic check somewhere?
Yeah, so there is, for example, with mobile app, most of the banks have done it, that if you have to download my mobile app here on this phone, before you download from the app store, it will actually check whether your phone has got a spam or not. If there is a spam, there is a software called protect.ai. It checks whether your phone has a spam at that moment. If it is, it will not allow you to download. So we do such kind of steps as well, and those are advancement in technology that
even vulnerability talks about the device versions, OS versions. What are the models? Model-wise, what are the other versions? And a lot more. It's a huge area, but non-apps is something we will have to look at.
Last comment, and then we have to wrap up. Yes, please.
Yeah, I'll probably answer that from a non-bank app perspective. And I'll give you perspectives across both the countries, Australia and India. As a non-bank dealing in financial services, there are only regulations and steps and standards that has to be followed, okay? Which is what we follow in Australia. And in India, that is what we are following as well. Checking of the apps, there is unfortunately nobody who mandates that. There's only standards available. And very similar to a bank that goes through rigorous checks, because I'm an ex-bank for the last 20 years across APAC region. The checks for a non-bank, any fintech that you take, has to be the same standards. Even the QR codes that we have developed back in Australia has got a similar encryption technology. So unfortunately, to answer your question specifically, there isn't any sort of association or a not-for-profit who mandates that or verifies that. It doesn't even have the tick to say this is verified, unfortunately. There's only standards, and that's driven by the regulators mainly. Any other app, I think it's a horses for courses and case-by-case basis on how we secure. And I think the responsibility falls onto the FI or the non-FI, which is the banks and the non-FI institutions, to ensure that they have a very tight sort of security layer around all that to sniff out any non-bank, and to ensure that the movement of money, especially when it got real-time payment systems, it gets very hard. So that's my two inputs. Unfortunately, the answer is no, but there is.
Okay, we have to wrap up because we are running late and there is another session which will come up. I thank all the participants, our valued guests. We have a very vibrant discussion towards the end, and everybody is worried about what's going on. Thank you all again for participating in this.
Thank you so much. Sir, request all of you to stay back. We have to do the honors. So request Ajit Abu sir to kindly present a token of appreciation to Balaji sir, please, first. To Mr. Ratan Kumar Kesh next. And to Dr. Raj Rajesh. If I may request Mr. Obijit Roy, Managing Director, Berger Paints Limited, and Senior Vice President, Bengal Chamber of Commerce, to come up on the desk, please. Would request him to kindly pass on a memento to Mr. Raj Jain, Managing Director and CEO of RS Software. Mr. Jain. To Mr. Siddharth Prasha next. And finally to Mr. Karthik Srinivasan. Thank you so much. If the panel can have a joint picture together. Yeah, you can come.